वेलकम बैक टू इनसाइड टुनाइट विद अशोक व्यास। हम बात कर रहे हैं टेक ब्रिज की। टेक ब्रिज यानी कि टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ आपका सेतु कैसा है, आप किस तरह से जोड़ते हैं अपने आप को टेक्नोलॉजी से, और ये बहुत आसान है या बहुत मुश्किल है आपके लिए। इस बारे में चर्चा को आगे बढ़ाते हुए आइए बात करें कि हिंदी भाषा सिखाने में किस तरह से आपका स्मार्टफोन स्मार्ट रोल प्ले कर सकता है। और इस ऐप को बनाने वाले तेजू प्रसाद हमारे साथ स्टूडियो में हैं। एंड वंस अगेन वेलकम बैक टू यू तेजू। एंड नाउ लेट्स टेक अ लुक एट दिस वीडियो वेयर आवर व्यूअर्स विल गेट सम आइडिया अबाउट हाउ दिस ऐप इज स्मार्टली वर्किंग टू मेक यू मोर अवेयर अबाउट Hindi. So there is this video wherein we learn about basic Hindi, how it is taught. So there was कई बार ऐसा होता है कि कुछ गलती हो जाती है, कहते हैं कि हिंदी हो गई, ये एक्सप्रेशन हमारे यहाँ बना रहा है. So we will probably try and see if we get back that video. And in the meantime, I have seen this video, Teju, and it kind of guides viewers gradually how is written. So how this concept came to you?
Sure, yeah. So what I noticed in some of the existing apps that that do teach the Devanagari, the Hindi characters, is that they do present the letter and they do give some kind of direction, some arrows pointing and things like that. But there was no assessment. There was no way to ensure that the character is drawn correctly. So what I felt would be a good addition or a good thing to add was a method of providing a guided interactive feedback. So the app gives you a stroke order. It gives you a kind of a 1 and a 2, and you're always drawing from that 1 to 2. One thing with apps is that they need to be intuitive. So they need to kind of be easily recognizable as to, okay, well, how do I interact with this and how do I use this application? So if you try and draw anywhere outside of the line, it doesn't let you. It corrects you essentially, and it ensures that you draw correctly. And when you finish the letter, it provides you kind of a finished screen that says, good job, and it shows you exactly what you drew to make sure that you kind of understand, like, okay, this is how I draw the letter. So that's one of the, I would say, the distinguishing features, probably the largest distinguishing feature.
I think this is very important because many parents feel that it's very difficult to take away their kids from iPad or iPhone, etc.
Sure.
And then if you have this additional thing available for them, which many people want कि बच्चों को हिंदी अच्छी तरह आ जाए, this way they will be connected to their roots, ऐसा एक feeling रहता है. Sure. So you probably studied psychology of kids, or did you sit with some experts in the field of education कि पढ़ाते वक्त what are the techniques that they make use of?
Sure, yeah, I had some discussions actually with some people in the education field. I mean, university professors and even people who teach language courses in community centers and temples and things like that. And the kind of the big message that I got was one of the most important things was the assessment is how do you assess whether the learning is taken place, and also how does the student or how does the learner kind of measure their own progress. And what the app also has is a kind of a progress report or a progress screen where a student can see for themselves, okay, I've completed, say, 10% of the vowels or 50% of the consonants, and each letter has certain combinations. So that's that I think is very valuable, where now a student can show this progress screen to the teacher and say, okay, I've completed 50% or I've completed 10%, 20%, and then also feel themselves, okay, I'm working towards a goal in terms of practicing all the letters. And the app actually has over 470 characters, so there's definite there's a large, it's not something that one can finish overnight. I mean, maybe they can if they're really, really enthusiastic. But so, I definitely wanted to give something valuable and something that someone could spend a lot of time with.
तो बेसिकली एप्पल स्टोर में एक ऐप है जिससे आप हिंदी सीख सकते हैं एंड प्रॉब्ली यू हैव टू शेल सम मनी फॉर दैट $2 समथिंग लाइक दैट.
Sure, yeah. So the app right now is at the introductory cost of $5, and it's that cost will actually give you all access to any future updates. So this is version 1.0. Version 2.0 is planned sometime during the year, and any kind of price increase. Well, if someone were to purchase it now, they would be entitled to any updates or any future enhanced versions, more functionality down the line.
So once again, if you want to learn Hindi, तो आप iPhone के द्वारा भी सीख सकते हैं. But those who have attempted to learn Hindi with the help of this app, what has been the response so far?
Yeah, definitely. I've shown it to let's say children of all ages and learners of all ages, and everyone definitely finds it to be very, very intuitive, fun almost. I mean, one could say fun in the sense that it's just something that you can kind of do in a small, in when you have a few extra minutes here, a few extra minutes there. You don't feel like, okay, you have to bring out the textbook and start writing, and it's something that you can easily just jump to, say from a game or from something. So now I feel like it's something where a mom or a dad can say, okay, sure, you can play this game, but only if you've completed 5% of your letters or something like that.
Wonderful. So fun is important for learning anything new, and also nowadays, while a smartphone is taking the role of a teacher in some way, it is also taking the role of parenting in a different way with the help of one app which Teju offered earlier. It was called You Promise. Tell us more about that.
Sure. Yeah. So the idea of that app, interestingly enough, came as somewhat of I'll say like half joke in a way, in the sense that I think a lot of us have people in our lives who we wished would be a little bit more attentive to the things that they say and that the promises they make. Sometimes these you might call these people flaky or something like that. And I said, wow, wouldn't it be great if there was a way to hold such people to their words? And as it kind of grew out of as a joke in a way, but there's an app that I've developed called You Promised. It's available, again, on the App Store. And the concept, the premise of the app is that, let's say you're making an agreement with someone, you type in the details, and you actually record your voices as a signature, and then you save that into the app, and then you have the ability to send this via email to anybody. So what I found was that it was a nice way for parents and children to make little agreements with themselves. It could be whatever they decide. Yeah.
तो ये जो मैं इसको अलग तरह से कहूँ, जिसके लिए कि बहुत अच्छा क्रिएटिवली एनिमेटेड वे में यू प्रॉमिस को प्रेजेंट किया गया था, तो ऐसा लगता है कि ये ऐप एक तरह से गवाह के जैसा, विटनेस के जैसा हो जाता है कि आपने ये प्रॉमिस किया था, आपको ये करना है कि आप अगर सैलेड खाएंगे तो आपको पिज़्ज़ा खाने को मिलेगा, आपने ये प्रॉमिस किया था. सो समथिंग लाइक दैट. So again, technology is now intervening in interpersonal relationships also, probably in positive ways sometimes. So what was the response of that app?
Well, I found that many people did actually see great potential in it. I've actually run it by people who've worked in the child psychology field, and doctors and other people who've spent a little bit of time in this space trying to they understand the value of keeping one's word, and when I've sent it to a lot of mom bloggers, they kind of joked that, wow, I wish this app was around when I was growing up, and everyone could always think back to that one time where they felt like, oh wow, I wish when I made this promise with my parents, or my parents promised this, that I wish there was a record of it. And really the app's motto is that it's fun and serious both at the same time.
Wonderful. So on that note, I'm also reminded of a new ad that has become viral in India, which is called Internet Baby. And if we were to show you that Internet Baby, you would have been surprised that this kid who has just come out of the womb of his mother is in a position to operate iPad, and then he goes and touches a laptop, hits the button to go live. So the way technology, the relationship with technology starts, as soon as you start your relationship with the world, it is amazing. एंड वेदर वी लाइक इट और नॉट इट इज़ हैपनिंग. और हमें बहुत बार ऐसा लगता है कि बच्चे वो बातें बहुत जल्दी जल्दी समझ जाते हैं जो हमारी समझ में आती नहीं है. एंड एट दिस पॉइंट आई वुड ऑल्सो इंट्रोड्यूस अनदर जेंटलमैन who is going to be joining us on phone from Cincinnati. And Aniket is a chemical technologist with a bachelor's degree in coating and polymeric materials from Institute of Chemical Technology in Mumbai, India. He's currently in the final stage of his PhD in polymer sciences at University of Cincinnati, and he's independently working as a freelancer in the field of 3D printers. Welcome, Aniket. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Okay, so this 3D printer, it still is something very new for many people. Tell us what it is.
Yeah, well, it is kind of new, but the concept is not really new. The concept originated somewhere in 1980s. But at that time, it was kind of at developmental stage. But right now, it is more getting widespread. I mean, the concept is getting more widespread. People are really using it at domestic level. So previously, it was limited to an industrial level, but now it is slowly going from one home to another home.
So now we see some visuals where you are doing something on the machines. What is that?
Yeah, so it is actually one of the latest 3D printer. It is known as RipRap model of the 3D printer. So this is one of the machines that can be used at really domestic level. These are known as desktop 3D printers, and they are there like from past few years, maybe 4 or 5 years.
I see.
So I somehow got hold on this machine, and I just started making objects, and I was really fascinated by this. So this is a kind of latest 3D printer.
This is a kind of latest. Okay.
3D printer which still needs to be modified for proper use.
You know, you confuse me slightly because you are a man from the field of chemistry. So when we are looking at the way your field has been, which doesn't really involve printing of this kind or 3D printing, and if I set the tone again for our viewers, those who are not familiar with 3D printers, and I explain it in a layman's terms, तो ऐसा हुआ कि आप कहीं जाएं और कोई आपकी फ़ोटो खींचे आपके चेहरे की, और कुछ देर के बाद में वो आपको आपकी मूर्ति बनाकर दे सकें. दैट इज़ 3D प्रिंटिंग. 3D प्रिंटिंग अगर उनके पास डिज़ाइन है और आप चाहते हैं कि कोई बहुत अच्छी सी डिज़ाइन की मूर्ति है जो कि प्रिंट हो जाए, सो यू डोंट गो टू एन आर्टिस्ट जो कि उसको कार्व कर रहे हों, ये आपका प्रिंटर है जो कर रहा है. सो बिफोर वी टॉक मोर अबाउट योर साइड ऑफ द सिचुएशन, Aniket, tell us how this technology of 3D printer works. And it is difficult to believe. पहले हम जो सिंपल कागज़ पर छपकर चीज़ें आती हैं वही हमें फैसिनेट करती रहती हैं अभी तक. तो ये 3D print, how it happens actually, and who gets the credit for bringing it for us?
Who gets the credit? The inventor, I am really not sure of his name. All I know is he was somewhere from Germany. But it is kind of like various people have contributed to the development of this technology. Various engineering disciplines are involved, like mechanical engineers or electrical, computer science, material, chemical, everything is there.
I see.
So it is contribution of various engineering disciplines.
I see.
That's the first thing. Now, your second question was how it operates. So, it's actually very simple. You can compare it to normal two-dimensional printing. You have something on your laptop or your computer. You connect your computer to the printer, and your printer prints it. It's as simple as that.
I see.
So how exactly it operates? Instead of using Microsoft Word or PDF we have some specific softwares for 3D printers where we have 3D objects that are designed in computer. Now, once these 3D objects are designed, they are designed in such a way that they decide the movement of the extruder, or I would say the injection machine on the printer that moves around. So your computer controls the motion of the extruder on the printing machine, and that's how it operates.
तो बेसिकली अगर आप उसको देखते हैं तो ऐसा लगता है जैसे वो रोशनी का एक बिंदु है, वो नृत्य कर रहा है. सो इट इज़ द डांस ऑफ द लाइट दैट एंड्स अप offering you a creative form, which is amazing. So before we take a break, Aniket, I also want you to share with us where your role starts becoming important in the field of 3D printing.
Sure.
Because this polymer and coating, how is it relevant for someone who is interested in 3D printer?
Mm-hmm. Well, I myself was not aware of 3D printers probably last year. I came in touch with 3D printers through one of my friends who is a mechanical engineer and works in a small in a startup 3D printer company. So he came to me about, he wanted to talk to me about the issue that he was facing. What happens is, as I said, it involves so many engineering disciplines. But I think no one considered a coating technologist for this problem they were facing. So the thing is, the mechanism that they use is known as fuse deposition modeling or additive manufacturing. So what happens is your 3D object, as it progresses in the process, so your first layer needs to stick to some kind of substrate.
Right.
Now this is a basic condition. If you don't have a base, how will you build an object? So there are few materials that work pretty well with a normal substrate like glass or any metal, but then there are few important materials like ABS, or in full form we call it acrylonitrile butadiene styrene. So these materials are not really easy to work with. So he wanted to use ABS, but he said no, it's not really working very well with the kind of printer, the cheap printer that we were having.
I see.
So when I looked at it and when I saw, and I was like, well, if this problem can be solved, I envision that each and every person will have a 3D printer at home if the cost can be reduced. So I was like, okay, I'll start working on it. So meanwhile, I was working on 3D printer, like creating objects. So if someone wants an object, I would just create it for them and something like that. Meanwhile, I was working on a research project where I was trying to develop a coating which, if heated, the material could stick to it properly, but when the process is done and it is cooled back to room temperature, it just loses all its adhesion and the printed object just pops out, comes out very easily.
Right. So that kind of takes me to think about how Earth relates to us, and there is this gravitational force, so we can stand, we can walk. Same way, when you are printing something, it needs a place to stand in a solid way. Am I right in making that connection?
Definitely, yes.
So in order for us to stand and do something, we always need the support of our sponsors. So with you, I'll move towards acknowledging some of these sponsors with this short break, and we'll be right back after this break.